Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to tell you a story that will give you more energy in your life. Marco, a 24-year-old young man living in a small village surrounded by mountains, constantly felt that his mind was in chaos. Day after day, his head was filled with endless thoughts that never stopped. Painful memories from the past often resurfaced and weighed on him, while worries about the future clung to him and made him anxious. Because of this, Marco was always exhausted, unable to focus or enjoy life. He spent many nights unable to sleep and slowly forgot what joy and peace once felt like. His mind was like a storm that never settled, leaving him tense and drained. He tried to escape those thoughts, but the more he tried, the stronger they became. Even though he lived in a peaceful natural setting, Marco still felt stuck, as if the chaos inside him had taken over everything. Deep down, he had only one desire: to find calm within his soul and understand how to escape the endless swirl of thoughts. After many days of mental exhaustion, Marco heard about a remote village deep in the hills. People whispered that an exceptionally wise old man lived there, someone who had once been a famous psychologist in the city. For many years, he had helped countless people overcome suffering, teaching them how to understand themselves and rediscover inner peace. When he grew older, he left the noisy, crowded life of the city and chose a quiet village near nature, living simply and offering guidance to those who sought him out. Hearing these stories, a spark of hope lit up inside Marco's troubled heart. He thought that perhaps this old man was the one who could help him find the peace he had been searching for. Without hesitation, Marco decided to set out on the journey. The road was long and tiring, but with every step, a little more faith grew inside him. Finally, Marco reached the hill village. In front of him stood a small house covered in greenery. On the porch, the old man sat quietly with his eyes gently closed, his face radiating a deep sense of peace. Marco approached and softly asked for guidance. When the old man opened his eyes and gave a gentle, warm smile, Marco felt he had come to the right place, a place where he could finally learn how to quiet his mind and discover where true peace comes from. When Marco expressed his wish to find inner peace, the old man simply smiled and said he had a small task for him. He led Marco into the front yard, where there was a simple wooden table. There, he carefully filled a glass of water to the very brim, so full that even the slightest shake would cause it to spill. Then he handed the glass to Marco and said, "Take this glass and walk along the village road all the way to the end and then return here. But remember, you must not spill even a single drop." Though confused, Marco accepted the task with seriousness. He held the glass with both hands, walking slowly and paying close attention to every movement. The village road was narrow and busy. Children played on the ground, adults talked and traded goods, and dogs barked loudly, a lively and noisy scene. Yet Marco ignored everything around him. Every bit of his attention was focused on the glass in front of him, and each step was taken with intense care so the water wouldn't shake or spill. After walking to the end of the road and returning, Marco proudly told the old man that he had completed the task without spilling a drop. But when the old man asked if he had heard the barking dogs or seen the children playing, Marco realized he had noticed nothing other than the glass. And that moment marked the beginning of the wise man's lesson. When Marco admitted that he had focused only on the glass and paid no attention to any sounds or sights around him, the old man smiled as if he had expected that answer. He gently said, "Do you see? When your mind concentrates fully on just one thing, everything else becomes silent. In that moment, the past can no longer make you sad, and the future cannot make you worry. There is only the present, a simple moment, yet incredibly powerful." Marco stood still, slowly absorbing the lesson. He realized that while holding the glass, his mind had been completely empty, no chaotic thoughts, no memories, no fears. There was only the fragile glass that needed to be held steady. And that focus had brought him a peace he had never felt before. The old man continued with a warm voice, "Peace is not something you have to search for in faraway places. It has always been within you, but you've let too many thoughts cover it up. When you truly live in the present, your mind naturally becomes lighter." Marco bowed his head in gratitude. In that moment, he understood that what he had been searching for had never been lost. All he needed was to return to the present moment to touch the peace he longed for. As the sun began to set behind the mountains, Marco felt something shift deeply inside him. The old man's words seemed to sink into every breath he took. He realized that all these years, he had been chasing peace outside himself, unaware that it had always been within him. He thanked the old man with a heart full of gratitude for such a simple yet profound lesson. On his way back, the world looked the same, the wind rustling through the trees, the birds flying home, but Marco was different. He was no longer the anxious, restless young man he had been. Inside him was a new sense of calm, soft, deep, and steady. He understood that as long as he kept his mind in the present, peace would naturally arise, just like a lake becomes still when the wind stops. Marco walked with a smile he hadn't felt in a long time. He knew his journey toward peace had only just begun, but now he held the key, the ability to keep his mind anchored in the present. As the story came to a close, a warm and gentle atmosphere lingered. The storyteller thanked everyone who spent time following Marco's journey toward inner peace. It was not just a story, but a lesson for anyone feeling overwhelmed by life. The message served as a quiet reminder that peace is always within reach. We simply need to pause and return to ourselves. The storyteller encouraged everyone to share the story so that more people could feel inspired. Sometimes, even a small story is enough to bring someone hope or lighten the burden of a difficult day. Stories like this have the power to touch the heart and awaken the desire for calm and clarity. A final friendly reminder followed, to stay. To continue listening to meaningful stories that offer reflection, healing, and motivation. Life is full of valuable lessons, often found in the simplest moments. The storyteller promised to return with more stories, new thoughts, new lessons, and new journeys that might help each person find peace within their own lives. And before saying goodbye, they offered a gentle wish, to live well, live peacefully, and cherish every moment of the present. Marco's journey ended with a beautiful image, a young man walking through the golden glow of sunset, carrying a peace he had never known before. from someone once consumed by worries about the past and future. He had learned how to return to himself. The old man's lesson was no magic trick, but a profound truth: peace always exists within us. Marco understood that to keep his mind calm, he had to learn to live in the present. When the mind is no longer pulled by regrets or fears, the heart naturally becomes serene. The sunset sky mirrored Marco's emotions, gentle, warm, and full of hope. He knew that life ahead would still bring challenges. But with his new awareness, he no longer feared them. Not only did Marco regain his smile, but he also felt the desire to share the story with others. He understood that many people, just like him, were lost in their thoughts, unaware that true peace lives in each moment and each breath. His journey became a soft reminder: sometimes changing your life begins with changing your mindset. And when peace is found within, the world outside becomes gentler. Marco continued walking, carrying with him the lesson that would stay with him forever, the lesson of presence, stillness, and truly knowing himself. The story ended with a heartfelt message from the storyteller. After Marco's journey toward peace, they hoped each reader could find a lesson for their own life. We cannot control everything that happens, but we can learn to guide our minds, just as Marco did. The storyteller encouraged anyone who found the story meaningful to share it with friends and loved ones, so more people could feel the warmth and inspiration it carried. Sometimes, a simple story is enough to lift someone out of a dark day and give them a glimpse of light. They also expressed sincere gratitude to everyone who followed the story and invited readers to continue the journey through future stories filled with new insights, inspiration, and healing. Before closing, they offered one final wish: may you always stay peaceful, healthy, and cherish every moment of your life. Thank you for listening. Please hit like and follow the channel so you won't miss any meaningful stories. Goodbye and see you next time.